I'm Corporal Henry Thomas III. I fought for the Union during the War of Rebellion, volunteered in September 1862, was honorably discharged 65, and Elon Musk is taking away my Social Security. Fought in Chancellorsville, Gettysburg, saw some action during the siege of Petersburg as rebel artillery fire exploded all around, and I watched as my brothers died by my side. I never thought the thanks I would get would come in the form of some billionaire oligarch deciding I don't deserve my benefits. It's hard, you know, going to the skeleton wife and skeleton kids and telling them I don't know where their next meal is coming from. If I ever meet this Elon Musk fella, well, I got a real bone to pick with him. Oh, a bone. I didn't even mean to do that. But anyway, billionaires should not be in control of our Social Security. This shouldn't be controversial. I hope you'll support me and my brothers in arms by writing your congressman and letting him know it's time to stop Elon Musk.
Oh, sorry, John Henry. I couldn't hear you over the roar of my Tesla. And now from Times Square, it's that Kevin show.
Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps,
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Vostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. We don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Straight ahead, putting America first, Matt Henderson from AFPI. Judges versus the White House, Hans Von Spakovsky. That's fun to say. Sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee, a cartoon from Al Berry, and a sneak peek of Holy Week with The Chosen. And in the spotlight, making her debut, it's Natalie Lane. And now, from Times Square, or so he'd like you to believe. And the reason we question is because 3 nights ago he was in Dallas, 2 nights ago he was in Manhattan, and last night he was in Atlantic City. What's up with him? Here's that Kevin!
Welcome to the weekend. Kevin McCullough, very glad to have you with us. We have got a monster show of shows for you today. You will not believe where I've been and what all I've done in the last 72 hours, but it's crazy. From New York to Dallas, back to New York, to Atlantic City, back to New York, New York. It's all over the place. The people I've met with, I met Jesus. Well, maybe not the actual Jesus. No, let me back up. I'm already starting bad. I met Jesus when I was a kid. But I met the guy who plays Jesus on The Chosen. It's not the first time I've met him. Yes, I've had many times that I've come to Jesus. Stop it. Jesus and I got together in Dallas this week. Jonathan Roumie, the man who plays Jesus on The Chosen. He and I, we chilled. It was really cool. And because my Jonathan is a burgeoning filmmaker and Jonathan Roumie knows that he's a filmmaker, I asked him if I could let Jonathan ask him a question. You're not going to get to see it on this episode. We're going to do it next weekend. But I will tell you, there was something in the water. It was very, very cool. Very cool meeting with Jesus this week. But I also met with Vivek Ramaswamy. So, you know, it's one of those, yes, I live that kind of weird life. One day I'm communing with Jesus at a bar in Dallas. The next I'm in Atlantic City with Vivek Ramaswamy. It's literally the way, and then the world's biggest PR executive in New York in between. It's a crazy life that I live. Having said that, on this show today, we have got a sneak peek at Jonathan's new season of The Chosen. In fact, you're going to see it in just a couple of minutes. We're going to get to that. Very, very excited to be able to bring that to you. Also, we have got maybe the best edition of Assignment Desk Weekend that we've ever done. So I'm excited. I can't wait to get all. And we got a cartoon by Al Berry. Babylon Bee is back this week. And in the spotlight, friends, I cannot tell you how much I love this new artist. And she's not new. She's just been doing independent music for a while. But she's got a brand new album out. She has 3 or 4 songs on it that should be #1 hits. And she is a delicate and versatile composer of great melody and profoundly important lyrics. Natalie Lane is her name. She's going to be with us today. We've also got Matt Henderson joining us from AFPI. There's a lot that is being scrutinized about the Trump executive orders, and now as they're moving into actual policy and the implementation and all the rest, it's very important that, we not let the dunderheads that got us into the problem where we had to have all of these things to begin with start to try to crawl them back. We're not going to let that happen. Matt's going to be here to talk about it. Hans Von Spakovsky, fun to say, love your name, Hans, is going to be with us as well. He has reaction to Judge Boasberg, who, if you're following me on Town Hall, I did write a great deal about him this week. Feel free to check that out, townhall.com, or just go to thatkevinshow.com and go to the column section. You get all my most recent musings. But we got some reaction to that. Then we've got brand new original stuff from the Babylon Bee, brilliant stuff on the Founding Fathers, a cartoon by Al Berry, and as I said, a sneak peek at The Last Supper, and then, of course, Natalie Lane before we're all done. Now, told you last week, we are in the crunch time for helping the kids at Food for the Poor. I need you to go to instagood.org and help us feed as many as you can. This is the second to last weekend that we're going to be able to tell you about it, and there are still about 80 names left on the list, and we need your help. Instagood.org, instagood.org. Go and check it out and help. Now, here is a look at that sneak preview I was telling you about. It's the brand new season 5, and I was with the people from The Chosen in Dallas this week. Great opportunity for you to sample what they have straight ahead in terms of a powerful end to this portion of the story, because they get into the crucifixion and the resurrection in season 6 and 7. But this is the real dynamics season and cycle that they're going through, and you can see it right here. Take a look.
You must know something. I do believe that Jesus is most likely the Messiah.
Why?
Why what?
Why do you believe that?
I've seen too much.
Then why are you doing this?
I suppose I have not seen enough.
Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem.
You can run on for a long time.
My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of thieves!
By what authority are you doing these things? My own!
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
We have a problem. Jesus operates entirely outside our jurisdiction.
Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees!
Stop this at once! The world is changing, and Jesus offers a vision to redeem it.
He's not the Messiah!
Tell him that God's gonna cut you down.
Declaring yourself a sovereign, Rome will descend on us all!
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
The Pharisees are plotting to arrest Jesus of Nazareth.
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
I want peace, just like you. If you go through with this, our alliance is over.
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
There is talk of a collaborator from within of his own followers.
Go and tell that midnight rider.
City's on edge. If you succeed, I'll be the one left to pick up the pieces.
Go tell that long-tongued liar.
I ask that you keep your distance from me in Jerusalem these next few days.
Why?
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
You serpents! How will you escape being condemned to hell?
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
All right, I think it's going to be a great season 5. Stay with us. We will give you much more reporting on that next week. Kevin McCullough, That Kevin Show continues. Matt Henderson joins me next. Don't go anywhere.
Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's That Kevin Show. That Kevin Show at all social media, thatkevinshow.com. If you want to get any of the podcasts or follow up, see my new column, whatever, it's all there, thatkevinshow.com. Nice and easy to take care of. One of the groups I love to sing the praises of is America First Policy Institute, because when President Trump was kind of surreptitiously sent packing after his first term under very suspect circumstances, these people pulled together and said, we're not letting the America First idea die in any way. And so over the last 4 years, they have put together what I think is one of the powerhouse think tanks across the country. And Matt Henderson heads up their government affairs office there, and he rejoins us. Matt, thank you for being with us. I'm looking at approval ratings, and I see this last Monday, the Democrats hit 29% approval for their current status. That's the lowest in the modern era. The president's cooking along. He's had a 25-point swing in some of his most important issues, and he is holding steady overall at 45%. And about 51% of all Americans strongly approve of his immigration policies, a 7-point increase from his first term. So what we have seen is nothing but a president that came to office, started working on the stuff he was going to work on, and it looks like the American people kind of get it.
That's 100% right. And really pleased to be back with you, Kevin. And, one of the things that's been very you cited the poll from Democrats and just their approval rating, and that is an accurate reflection of their ideas. And the president has been consistent on his ideas. America First policies are here to stay. We're here to stay. And the momentum that has been behind these ideas, of course, we saw that back in November with 312 electoral votes. We've seen the mandate, and he has been executing on that mandate nonstop, particularly with immigration. For a long time, especially with the disaster of the last admin, immigration has been something that the American people and voters across the country are now finally starting to realize that, the president is not only serious, but there is action taking place every single day on the border. We have a border that is closed. We have a border that is secure. We have policies that are coming into place that are taking action, and the American people are seeing that. And it's resonating.
And not only are they going to see it, they're going to start feeling it in their own neighborhoods. Things are going to calm down. Places are going to be safer. And that's really good. And it does defy a little bit of credulity that this last weekend, when President Trump sent the Venezuelan gang members back to where they came from, that an Obama-era judge tried to say, no, you have to bring those planes back. I didn't say they could leave. I mean, the kind of mega importance that Democrats have filled their minds up with in terms of the authority that they think that the judiciary or themselves or their agenda has is mind-blowing in terms of its irrelevancy. And I think that Judge Boasberg should be impeached. I think he should be gotten rid of. I think if you're a low-level district level court and you're trying to clearly take away the Alien Enemies Act's power from the chief executive, you're out of control. And there's no other way to describe it. But that's what the Democrats are claiming is the problem with Trump's administration. They're saying that he's out of control, that DOGE is out of control. Let's stay on that topic for a second. They're so out of control that the opposition is evidently having to pay people to protest.
Yes, that's right. And actually, I do want to highlight a couple of things of what you just said. You know, the Alien Enemies Act, it's been around for 200 years. It was put in place for a reason, and it was to protect this country from those who want to invade our country. And it was referenced that it was, you know, it's been in place for 200 years, but it's actually been used 17 times. It's been used over the course of history, and it's been used for a purpose, and it's to secure our country. The president, the Constitution empowers the president with implementing the Constitution, and he does have executive control over securing our border, and he's been delivering on that.
And the Supreme Court has reinforced that multiple times.
Yes, correct. And, you know, there was this argument when there was an immigration going through Congress, I believe it was December of 23, the last immigration bill, that only Congress has authority over immigration and securing the border, and that is in fact incorrect. I mean, the president has all the power. He's been delivering on that. That was a number one priority.
Well, if that was the case, how is the border closed and secure now when no legislation's been passed?
Correct. And there was actually, you know, some of the polling that has come out has shown that the American people finally believe that he has, you know, the power to secure the border. And there's been just fantastic movement on that front.
Yeah.
So, you know, things are moving forward. Congress has just come off about 10 weeks of nonstop action and trying to pass. Republicans in Congress are trying to pass and codify a lot of his executive orders that have come through. And they're now finally in district. There's a work period where members have gone back home, have gone, I believe it's nonstop town halls, and you referenced the paid opposition. You know, his agenda is so popular that Democrats are resorting, and the far left is resorting to anything to try to disrupt. And we're seeing a lot of these town halls, which are meant to be for constituents to voice their concerns and talk to their members, their representatives, because we have an open process. Anybody's allowed to talk to their elected official and representative. And what we've been seeing, and we've been uncovering evidence that there are paid protesters within these town halls, and those massive disruptions are just to get some attention.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the ideas, they don't have the policies, they don't have a tried and true candidate to come up with anything reasonable to try to stop the American First agenda.
Well, and I think a more important point is that they don't have the manpower. Like, if this was a movement about the people rising up to oppose these horrible DOGE actions that are actually seeking to, I don't know, clean out the junk in every department of government, if that was really a everyday man movement, you wouldn't have to pay people. So the fact that you're having to go out and recruit and let's face it, the people that take these jobs, they're probably not the brightest bulbs in the box anyway. So it's not like they're putting their best foot forward. And I think it's incredibly gaslighting when people like Jessica Tarloff go on Twitter and say, you know, oh, the president's underwater with his constituents on all of the big What are you? You're on the 5 every night, lady. What are you reading? What are you smoking? I don't understand any of it. But having said that, we do need to talk about where we go from here, because they still haven't gotten some of those executive orders codified. And most importantly, we don't have the big, beautiful bill yet. And between you at AFPI and my friend Patrice Onwuka over at Independent Women's Forum, we've been talking about this big, beautiful bill for quite a few weeks. And we're going to have to talk about not only, you know, why they're dragging their feet on this, but how quickly we need to get that through. So we'll do that after we take a quick break. Also, where do we stand, friends? Those of you watching and listening at home, where do we stand with the confirmations? I actually heard some rumblings of a group trying to boycott the Mike Huckabee nomination. Now he's got a date. It's March 25th. He's going to be confirmed on that, or he's going to get his hearing on that date. But how in the world, if you've got Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, RFK Jr., Kash Patel already confirmed, how are you going to go after Mike Huckabee? What do you got on that guy? We'll talk about it as we continue with Matt Henderson from AFPI here on That Kevin Show.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough, That Kevin Show. Thrilled to have you with us, and thank you for telling all your friends. More and more of you are finding us every single day. We tipped over 500,000 video views on only Instagram just last week. So thank you for the enthusiasm. But we're going to try to work hard to continue to give you good information. We're continuing our conversation with Matt Henderson from the America First Policy Institute. And Matt, when you were with us last time, we were talking about it. I talked with the economics head over at the Independent Women's Forum about it a lot too, Patrice Onwuka, who is doing a great job, especially as it impacts urban families and what's happening, and she's really kept her eye on that. A lot of people in favor of the big, beautiful bill. Are we going to get reconciliation? Is something besides the continuing resolution going to come out of this Congress?
Well, I think what we saw last week, before Congress took a break to go on, work from their districts and work at home with their constituents, they passed a bill to fund the government. And what we saw, it was the most bizarre sequence of events that I've seen. Of course, this year you had Leader Schumer come out, instruct his members that there's no way that we're going to pass a bill and come together. And then less than 24 hours after that, he said, never mind, we're actually going to pass this government funding bill. And that's because he saw that, as a party, they don't have any policies or ideas, to throw up as an alternative.
Well, and that was the best they were going to get, because it only continues Biden's spending levels until this next agreement runs out. But they're not going. Where do you go for longer lifeline on that? I think he saw the handwriting on the wall and said, "This is it."
Yes, and that's a great question. When the president talks about this big, beautiful bill, one bill, currently where the process is we saw a budget blueprint that was introduced in Congress. That is a very beginning step to get to the reconciliation process. And this is a tool that we have with unified conservative government. The president has announced that he wants Americans to keep their tax cuts. Families need to keep their tax cuts. Patrice, they have a wonderful feature that showcases exactly what's happening and what that means if these tax cut extensions are not preserved, which is what the president wants.
Yeah.
It's every single person from the single mother of two to the family of four to those who are living alone. This is everybody who has received a tax cut. If this bill isn't passed, this is going to be the largest tax increase within the last 100 years that families will be facing. So this is something that needs
and everybody in Congress that votes against it's going to be on the hook for that.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's to the expense of anywhere from $500 to $6,000 that people could see their taxes increase.
So let me ask you, the president, not this weekend, but last weekend, as he likes to do, he loves to throw these little things out just to see what people will say. But he floated this idea, all tax earning families or tax paying families under $150,000 in income per family, zero income tax. What's the chance that makes it into the big, beautiful bill?
Well, I think, one of the things, if it doesn't make it into this bill, there's two more chances for reconciliation bills. And if the president announces it, there is a possibility of including it. The income tax it's really a surveillance tax. It's a very invasive tax that goes into families. It not only is an increase in what you're supposed to pay to the government, but the government wants to know what you do for a living, how much you earn. There are so many constitutional violations against it, and
Biden tried to hurt self-employed people in the gig economy by trying to get into people's Venmos and PayPals and everything else. I mean, anything over $600 they wanted a snitch form on, and Trump's like, hey, if you're under 150,000, you're probably struggling in the current economy. Let's just give you a break from all federal government taxes.
That's absolutely right. And that was just one of the many policies that we saw in the failed Biden era of the last 4 years, the central bank digital currency, where he was trying to weaponize the Federal Reserve to monitor exactly how much money you spend from your bank account and what you spend it on. I mean, this is Operation Choke Point 2.0 that Biden was trying to pull. And thankfully, Trump is in office. The president is curbing back a lot of those regulations that were just meant to control and spy on American families across the country. And we deserve financial freedom, and the president's bringing that.
It's like we're getting a whole different country under President Trump than what it had been disintegrating into for the last number of generations, and really accelerated under Biden over the last 4 years. And for one, I'm glad. And, just look at what he can do when he doesn't have a fake Russia hoax being held over his head and having to, fight with one hand tied behind his back. This is really an amazing administration.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. That Kevin Show. And we are so thrilled to be able to help children that have nothing to eat and nothing but really dirty, gross water to drink. We're thrilled to be able to give them a new opportunity to have clean, fresh drinking water and delicious, nutritious food. Some rice, some beans, sometimes a little bit of chicken or goat that goes with that. But it's something that will fill their belly, give them protein and carbohydrates so that their body can grow, and it gives them a chance at a better life. And friends, if we don't do it, they will die. Most likely this year. The kids that are on this list, that's how serious it is. Paul Jacobs is back with us from Food for the Poor. And Paul, I remember when we visited a little place called Cadwa, Haiti. It's, I don't know, an hour or so. Well, the drive was an hour or so outside of Port-au-Prince. And then we walked about another hour into the place where they didn't have a road built yet. And there, a pastor was trying to hold a little school class and teach the kids some things. And next to the school, out back behind the building, there was this little, I don't know, maybe a 4x4 size little cesspool. I mean, I don't know how you describe it. It wasn't like a flowing water source, but there was a little gathering of water, and there were dogs doing their business and running through it, and there were children that were playing in it. And I think that one child tried to take a drink out of it, and it was horrifying to me. And this was the water supply for this town. This was the main water supply for this town. And we asked questions of the pastor, and he said, "It is a miracle that you're here. You're an answer to prayer." And I came back and told my listeners about it, and you helped me tell that story. But a year later, you and I went back, and one of those children came up and grabbed me by the hand and took me over to the water filtration system. He had a little cup in his hand, and he took some of that water out. He swigged it. He wiped his mouth, and he said, "Mister, that's delicious water." And I thought, wow, what a difference this can make when people get involved.
Delicious water. Just think about the last time you had a bottle of water, you had something from your tap, or maybe you had a water fountain in a public place. Maybe it's on your job, and you took a sip, went back to your whatever you were doing. You didn't consider it was delicious water.
No.
Maybe you had you had a moment just to sit back, and you're thirsty, and you just didn't even think about it. Probably couldn't even tell me what it was. But for these families, desperate, waiting, every moment they were praying, asking God when, and then an answer came from a listener just like you to answer their prayer. This is why we're asking you right now for the next Kadwa, for the next community, for the next child that is awaiting patiently for that delicious water. You could be the answer right now.
855-349-4673, 855-349-4673, or go to instagood.org. Instagood is one of the most common hashtags on all of the social webs because people want to do good. Well, if you want to do instant good, go to instagood.org and give a gift right now, because when you do, we have a special matching challenge that's underway. If you give a gift right now, it will be doubled in impact. So if you give a gift of $160 to feed 2 children through Food for the Poor, 2 children that will not eat otherwise, they will not have clean, nutritious drinking water otherwise, they will have those polluted sources, they will have that polluted source of water. But if you give right now, twice the impact, twice as many kids helped, twice as much food, twice as many meals, and clean drinking water for all of them. Everyone that we get to is going to have clean drinking water going forward. 855-349-4673, 855-349-4673. Paul, I want to narrow down on something that we were talking about there, though, because the source of clean drinking water, when you have parasites and things that are in the water, it's not just the dehydrating effect of having bad water that kills people. Many times it is the germs and the parasites and the things that are in that water, chemicals from machinery or waste products from animals or other things that work its way into the child's system. And when you're trying to survive life with an immune system that's badly damaged because you've been malnourished for most of your life, you have no immune system to fight it with. And so an intestinal bug that you and I might get over in just a day, not feel very good, but be back at work the next day, will take their life. It'll send them into comas, and they never wake up again. I mean, this is a really cruel. Having no access to clean water is one of the cruelest ways to die. And yet there are children that die every year. And we can prevent that if people get involved right now.
It's interesting when you just take a walk with me back to our trip to Haiti, where Kevin and I visited all of these communities. One of the common things that you see in children in these communities where they do not have proper nutrition, they're not eating every day, and of course the water is just filthy, is you see children with these severe runny noses, sometimes crusting right below their nose. We've all seen this in our children. I mean, Kevin, your kids, you just take a little napkin out there, and and mom's probably got something ready at the ready and just wipes the nose, and you keep it moving. But in Haiti, it is a sign of something more severe. It is a sign of a respiratory illness that has been brought on by a weakened immune system. It's a respiratory illness that, quite frankly, because the immune system is so compromised, and because these children are not getting the nutrition they need, and that next cup of water will be just as dirty and polluted as the last, that these children, for a common cold, could be life-threatening. And so we're asking you right now that because your gift is going to help provide food, provide nutrition, make sure these children are drinking water that is not going to make them sick with every sip, that you are saving a life. Don't take that lightly. You are saving a life of a child or 4 or 25 with $1,000 gift. And I know you probably just said to yourself, where am I going to get this $1,000 that you talk of? I want you to consider not the money, but I want you to consider 25 children whose lives have been put back on track because your compassion and generosity took front and center today.
Yeah, friend, and if you can do those larger gifts, and I have many people that watch and listen that are able to do that, your gift, your impact will be doubled right now. So why not give that big gift and help as many children as possible? We know of 100 right now that have not been helped that were on our list from late last summer, and we want to make sure that before we even get out of the first quarter of this year, that we've assured their parents, those kids, hey, you're not going to starve to death this year. We're going to make sure you have clean drinking water and healthy, nutritious food at least twice a day for the coming year. Please make that call. 855-349-4673, 855-349-4673, or go to instagood.org.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Elizabeth, we are facing another constitutional crisis. Donald Trump's trying to deport the Venezuelans. That's right, Maxine. Tren de Aragua has as much a right to be here as anyone else. It's not their fault the only job experience they have is murders and trafficking. That's right, Maxine.
It's a great injustice, Chuck. I just wish there was a way to stop the racist deportations.
Maybe we can call Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
That's a great idea, Maxine. She'll know what to do. Alexandria, it's Elizabeth. We're trying to stop Trump from deporting Venezuelans. I see. I sympathize with those gang members, Elizabeth. I remember one year my family hosted one for Christmas. Carlos surprised me with a head in a box. It was the most thoughtful gift I've ever received. I heard a rumor of a no-nonsense judge that could help you. Really? Who is it? Judge Judy. I just saw an episode where she blocked a man from getting out of child support. She could easily stop these racist deportations.
Chuck and Elizabeth, you want to make it so Donald can't deport Venezuelan gangs, is that right?
Well, as you know, I'm 1/1000th Cherokee. I'm also 1/1000th Venezuelan. My parents even owned a little Venezuelan child who they raised to be a very creative butcher. For Thanksgiving, he would serve us all a turkey with a tongue pulled through its neck. That's why we can't deport these people. Who knows what other charming traditions we'd miss out on?
Exactly. Donald Trump has no right to say Tren de Aragua are bad people.
And if that's not convincing enough, we'll pay you $20,000.
Well, that makes sense to me. As a no-nonsense TV judge, I have just as much power as the president. I will block the deportations.
2, 3, Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps,
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him from Nostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. We don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Still to come, sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee and a cartoon by Al Berry. Yet to come also, Hans Von Spakovsky. That's fun to say. With a look at judges versus Trump. And back in the spotlight, it's Natalie Lane. And now, from Times Square, a man who loves his merch so much, he wears it when he sleeps. Or so they say. From New York, it's That Kevin!
You know, I resent that, Dave. Yeah, I was at a junket this week and people mocked me for wearing my merch, but
oh, poor baby.
I thought at least in my own studio it'd be a safe space. Anyway, let's get to the news.
Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough. In a move that has educators nationwide clutching their red pens, President Trump signed an executive order this week to dismantle the Department of Education. Critics argue this could lead to a lack of standardized education. Supporters believe it'll increase personalized learning greatly and send more of the monies back to the local districts. Assignment Desk Weekend would like to point out that we do think one thing will change for sure: the quality of the local spelling bee. Environmental activists have taken their protests up a notch, bam, by setting fire to Tesla vehicles nationwide, coast to coast. That's right, Assignment Desk Weekend would like to point out that the same people who have been arguing for a greener planet are now torching electric cars. It's like protesting obesity by burning down salad bars. Authorities are charging these individuals with domestic terrorism, reminding us all that irony is alive and well. After the Trump administration threatened to pull funding, Maine universities, at least several of them, have reversed their policies on transgender athletes. Apparently, nothing speeds up policy change like the prospect of losing money. Next up, colleges reconsidering their stance on cafeteria food after budget cuts. After a mission that was supposed to have been a brief trip there and back, and it turned into a 286-day ordeal, astronauts are now scrutinizing their paychecks. Turns out, space travelers don't get paid overtime. Assignment Desk Weekend would like to point out that maybe they should have known the fine details before launching into the final frontier. But we'd also like to point out that they got a $5 a day stipend for all the extra days. A new study is suggesting that eating certain sweet foods can lower diabetes risk. Finally, some good news for those of us whose food pyramid still is just a stack of candy bars. Doctors caution, however, that moderation is the key. So maybe don't swap your veggies for jelly beans just yet. And finally, Hilaria Baldwin, yep, that Hilaria Baldwin, was caught on camera this week snapping at husband Alec. It was on a red carpet. For him. It's reassuring to know that even celebrities can't escape the classical marital spat. But Assignment Desk Weekend would like to point out that maybe next time they should save the bickering for after the paparazzi leave. For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough.
Gentlemen, I am James Madison. I want to thank you all for assisting me today with the historic task of drafting our first 10 amendments for our new Constitution. The first amendment that I would recommend would be this one. See, it's pretty straightforward. It's freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble.
I love it.
It's not bad, I guess. Great. Moving along then. Second Amendment is, yes, Tim.
This whole freedom of speech thing, how exactly would that work?
A free people should be able to think and speak freely without the government stopping them. Now, moving on to the Second Amendment. Yes, Tim.
Like, what if someone says something that you disagree with? Or what if someone says something that hurts your feelings?
Like if someone said James Madison is an oafish galumpus who needs to shut his potato trap mouth if he knows what's good for him, would that be protected speech?
That would be very hurtful. But yes, it's not the government's job to come in and tell its citizenry whether or not it can and can't say something. If somebody decided to insult me, you know, I'm a man. I can take it.
So the ability to insult anyone will be a guaranteed right. I love America.
Wait. No, let's slow this down. If people can say whatever they want, we're gonna need to provide for spaces that are safe from free speech.
No, that defeats the whole purpose. We must be able to use the words we wish without fear of prosecution.
I don't know about that, Chief. Words can be violence, you know.
No, words are quite literally not violence. Violence is violence and words are words. You can't just go around changing definitions all the time, all willy-nilly.
See, I don't like that you just said that. I am naming this section of the table here my safe space.
Tim, that's ridiculous.
You are in my safe space. You can't say that, okay? So, with this whole free speech thing, what happens if someone says something that's untrue? We're gonna need a team of fact checkers funded by the government to identify misinformation.
The government would never fund fact checkers against its own citizenry, not if the First Amendment has anything to say about it.
I give it 250 years.
Yeah, don't be a gullible, ignorant rube.
Okay, moving on to the Second Amendment.
Not so fast. What about cyberbullying? What about misgendering? What about jokes that punch down on marginalized communities? What about hate speech?
What is hate speech?
I think it's something like, I hate you, you scurvy knave. You have the wit of a damn turnip, James Madison!
You can't commit hate speech against him. He's a cis white male. You can only commit it against minorities and those on the fringes of society.
Are you suggesting that we only protect speech that we agree with?
Perfect. Congress shall make no law abridging speech that we agree with. Simple fix. Glad we worked that out.
No. That undermines the whole purpose. We must protect all speech, or no speech is safe.
I like where you're going with that, but okay, hear me out. What if we only protected some speech?
And who exactly would decide what speech is protected and what is not?
I'll volunteer to do it. Problem solved. Are we done here?
No, we are not! We're obviously going to go in circles on this, okay? So why don't we just put a pin in the First Amendment and move on to the Second?
And what would that one be?
The right to keep and bear arms.
But if everyone has guns, how am I going to stop them from saying things I don't like?
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin. Now, back to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show on every social media platform. Thank you for joining us wherever you find us. Always glad to have you with us. Well, this last week, the president put a bunch of Venezuelan gang members on a plane and sent them back to where they came from. And a judge in the D.C. Circuit didn't like that. Judge James Boasberg tried to block the deportation and said that even if the planes were in the air, they had to turn around. But by that time, they had landed in El Salvador, and kind of too little too late. But that didn't stop the firestorm from spreading quickly. All kinds of reaction coming across, particularly left-centric media on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, the rest. People screaming that this president is defying the rule of law and the authority of the courts. Here to discuss from the Heritage Foundation is Hans Von Spakovsky, whose legal insight on this is greatly coveted. Hans, thank you for joining us again. Welcome back to That Kevin Show.
Kevin, thanks for having me. By the way, all these critics have it the wrong way around. It's the judge who is defying the law. Because as you and I think, discussed before we went on air, the law on this is very easy. It's very simple to understand. It's very short. And it gives the a president extraordinary power to remove enemy aliens as he declares them to be. And as you know, the president did that with an executive order recognizing this particular gang, TDA, as a terrorist organization that is actually part of the narco-terrorist state of the Venezuelan government.
Well, and this is what I really want people to zero in on. It's one thing for the left to say Trump's a big meanie to immigrants, which is they've tried that meme for the last 2 years. It didn't work in the election. Now they have to shift gears and they have to make him a villain of some other issue that is relatable to the American people. So they think by calling him a lawbreaker and defying the courts that this is what's going to stick, that this is going to now be the new thing that they can nail him to the wall with. The problem is, and this is not even close to being controversial, is that not only does that law exist and has from the 1700s, but you've had courts repeatedly say that the executive branch, and specifically the chief executive himself, this is part of his job, keeping us safe.
Yeah, no, this is particularly true when you look at it the other way. Look, under the Constitution, the president's given extraordinary power over war making, over foreign policy, over security of our borders, and yet you have one federal district court judge believing that he has the legal authority to override the judgment of the president on this. I mean, that's so far outside the bound. It's clearly an invalid order. And by the way, look, we had the same thing happen, Kevin. Remember, back when Trump was first president, remember he issued what everybody called the travel order, right? He banned entry of aliens from certain nations. All of them were terrorist sponsors, the governments were. That went all the way to the Supreme Court. We had exactly the same claims made by those opposing. It went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, this is within the power of the president. He's got extraordinary constitutional authority, and he has statutory authority to do this. This is almost exactly the same situation.
Well, it's going to be, I think, knocked down pretty quickly. I said that in townhall.com this week. I don't think that there's much that they're going to be able to do, but the squawking will not stop. And I'm ashamed of people like Jessica Tarlov and Katie Fang and others who are on these networks. Katie, at one time, a pretty brilliant jurist herself, coming up with such lame responses to this. This is in our best interest. He is duty bound to keep us safe, and that's what he was trying to accomplish. Right. Let me shift to another topic real quick, because you've filed this with Seth Lucas over at the Daily Signal. DOGE. There's so many people kicking and screaming and just having a fit about what they've done. Right. You say Let them scream, because what they're doing is actually very, very clearly legal, and it will be successful. Why do you hold that position?
Well, keep in mind that Elon Musk has no executive authority. So those who saying that he's somehow acting wrongly, that just doesn't apply. He makes recommendations and suggestions. It's the president who then directs these federal agencies to carry out these orders. And remember, in the last cabinet meeting, Trump specifically told his cabinet folks that they could disregard any of the suggestions or recommendations made by Elon Musk. And a president can ask anyone he wants to give him advice and recommendations. He could call up you and me and say, hey, I want you to give me advice and recommendations. You and I could say to him, look, we really think the Department of Education should be shut down. If the president then directs that to be done, well, people can be upset at the president, but you and I giving him that advice, there's nothing illegal about that.
Well, Hans, on a very, and let's just be very democratic about this, on an electoral scale, isn't this what our elections inform the chief executive of every single cycle? I mean, aren't we on some level advising the government,
yes,
because they're our employees, to govern the way we, the people, expect them to govern?
Yeah, no, that's very true. And, I hear all these people say, oh, well, we didn't, Elon Musk wasn't elected. There's not a single official in the entire federal government of over 2 million people who were elected with only one exception, the president.
Right.
So does that mean that everything else that all those other employees doing is somehow illegal or wrong? Well, no, that's a stupid meme being used by the critics.
We have vested all the power in that chief executive for the very specific reason that it is his job to do what we ask him to do. I really tire of particularly the left's view of the exaltation of the presidency. Certainly, I'm respectful of the president and anybody who steps forward to serve in a public capacity. I've always thought, that's an admirable thing to do, an honorable thing to do. But we don't have kings. And I think that every time that somebody says, oh, Trump's not a king, he's not going around saying he's a king. He's serving the public, and he's fulfilling a grocery list that we sent him to Washington to do.
No, that's exactly right. And the thing is, he's accountable to the people through the election process. It's all of these bureaucrats inside these federal agencies. They're the ones who basically are unaccountable, especially those who say, well, I can't be fired by the president, which, as you know, has also been going on.
Well, I'm anticipating that the disruption's not going to calm down for a little while, but get past that for a second, Hans. On the other side of this, what will America operate like if we have 90% of the corruption swept out of every government, functioning branch, particularly in the executive side, in these areas? What does America look like after that?
I think ordinary folks will have much better lives. They'll have a higher quality of life because they won't have so many government regulators trying to interfere in what they do every day, telling them what kind of cars they can buy, telling them what kind of gas stoves they can buy, trying to jack up the price of gasoline because they say, oh, no, we want you buying electrical cars. I think the average American is going to find life much better, and I think the long-term effect for the economy is going to be really good.
I think small business in particular, and I think that job creation is just going to skyrocket because businesses won't be strapped with all of the compliance issues.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. I have been telling you about the incredible work of Food for the Poor. Last summer, we set out on a an effort, a journey, if you will, to try to feed a few hundred children. And we came up about 100 kids short of being able to help everyone that we knew would need help in 2025, that Food for the Poor had already identified. They've already know where these children are located, which country, Guatemala, Haiti, El Salvador, the rest. They've already identified. They already know a secure worker that's in the area that can deliver the food. What we need to do is get the resources to that person so that that child can eat for the coming year. And your gift of $80 will supply more than 700 meals for one child in the coming year. And if you call in the next 15 minutes, that's going to be doubled. So you'll feed 2 kids 700 meals for the next year if you call right now. But these are desperate, desperate children that don't have any other means of being fed. Paul Jacobs is back with us from Food for the Poor. Paul, it's very stunning for people the first time that they come into contact with severe malnutrition, the distended belly, the orange hair, the joints that don't look quite right and how they hang on the body. But it doesn't take long for steady nutrition once it's in that little child's body and the hand of God is working in that child's body to get that body back to health and to see. But sometimes the help has come too late. And I know that this is one of the things that breaks your heart when you're out on the field doing visits.
The Nutritional Recuperation Center in our Port-au-Prince office in Haiti, Food for the Poor Haiti, is a perfect example of what you talked about. These are children that come in dire conditions. We're not just talking about a child that maybe has missed a meal here or there. We're talking about acute, severe malnutrition. A child that may be 18 months old, 2 years old, and that child probably weighs as much as a newborn. It is shocking to see. It is shocking to believe that it exists in 2025, but it's a reality. But with the Nutritional Recuperation Center, and as I talk to you about that, this is where your gifts and your love and compassion is going towards. Food for the Poor is not a cookie cutter solution. It is making sure that the unique needs in the places where these children need to be fed are met. And the Nutritional Recuperation Center for newborns, mothers with small children are getting the nutrition they need. In fact, many of the mothers come and they said, my child is alive because of this. Now, there are cases where we get those children too late, but this is where you come in. Your gift right now is not going to feed a child not only today, but it's going to enable our ministry partners to go out into the communities and tell the mothers, go into the communities in Haiti. And regardless of whatever you hear in the news about Haiti, Food for the Poor is working constantly. Our partners are telling us that they are determined more than ever to make sure that we get to these families, and we still are delivering food. The Nutrition Recuperation Center is still in operation, and you're still needed right now.
855-349-4673. We just don't want to be too late. And friends, I was somewhat disappointed that we didn't get these final 100 kids back in the summer, but we can make up for that now because these kids still need food and they still need clean drinking water. You talk about nutritional recuperation. Starvation is part of the problem, but sources of clean drinking water and not being available is an even bigger problem, and it has far more devastating impact far faster. Paul Jacobs, you and I have traveled together and seen the difference in a village that has nothing but dirty and putrid water and a village that has a Food for the Poor water filtration system 1 year later, and the difference is miraculous. The energy of the kids, the whole community, it's a different place.
Chauveline is a perfect example of what you speak of. A little girl that when we first visited her community in La Fosse, Haiti, I'll tell you what La Fosse means in just a moment. When we visited her home, she lived in a shack, probably the size of a backyard shed, made of rusted metal and rotten wood. Her mother sent her about a quarter of a mile away to fish out whatever water that was clean enough in this pond that was filled with algae. And one side you have individuals washing their vehicles, another side you have animals doing their business. And then she has to come back with this water and boil it. And I remember asking Chauveline in La Fosse, Haiti, what does the water taste like? And I thought to myself, what in the world are you doing? Asking what does water taste like? And she says it tastes like mud. You see, that place, La Fosse, in Creole translates to the grave. But we went back to this community. In fact, not La Fosse, but where her family was moved to. Because of your generosity with listeners just like you, And this child was unrecognizable, drinking clean, safe water, eating every day, and thriving because of listeners just like you.
Friends, we need your help. There's 100 children at risk of dying this year if we do not help them. 855-349-4673, 855-349-4673, or go to instagood.org or text Kevin to 93999, 855-349-4673.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Here he is from New York. That Kevin. Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show on all social media. And you know that besides looking at the top stories and headlines of the week, we also like to dig into entertainment, particularly options that are good for your family. And my next guest comes from a couple of different options that are exactly offering those types of possibilities for you this year. Her name is Sarah Fisher, and she joins us now. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, nice to meet you, Kevin.
Good to have you.
Thank you very much.
I remember my sisters and my mom reading the Jeanette Oak books, and they were just really taken by the stories. I'm curious how you got involved with the televised versions of these stories.
Yeah, well, I had auditioned for this show. Of course, there was a season 1 that was a few years ago for When Hope Calls, and I got the audition, and I was really excited about diving into a character that and a world that takes place back in 1920. Has been something that was one of the main draws for me. I was like, oh, that's...
You wanted to do period stuff.
I as an actor, I really love to be challenged, and I had never done a period piece before. And it made me really, really curious about, okay, well, back then, how does that influence the decisions I make as an actor for how does Hannah walk into a room? How does she present herself? How does she, she owns this beautiful fashion boutique out in St. Louis. She comes back to the town of Brookfield, and all of a sudden she's back at her uncle's ranch where she grew up on horseback. And so it was a really exciting role to dive into because it's very new to me. And I love diving into a challenge. And, on set, there's so many different elements that bring that world to life, which has been really fun.
We're talking with Sarah Fisher from When Hope Calls Season 2. There was a Season 1. And this is on Great American Family, which is a network that has continued to kind of try to super serve the family-oriented, family values sort of audience in the country. They're not the only ones doing it, but they are certainly stretching in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And I'm curious... because, Sarah, you have experience in mainstream acting as well. How would you compare the process for the audience that is very loyal to Great American versus the stuff that's coming out of Hollywood?
I feel like the beautiful thing about movies and television and about the show When Hope Calls is that there's so many different elements. There's so many different parts of this show for people to connect with. There's a lot of love, there's a lot of romance and beautiful relationships. There's a lot of family, there's a lot of community. There's so many cool elements and different aspects for people to connect with about the show. And I think that's the beautiful thing about film and television as a whole is that no matter what world you're in, no matter what you're doing, we're all human. And how do we personally connect with these characters and with what they're going through and with the world that we're diving into with any movie or show?
Did you find that you identified with your character in When Hope Calls?
I found... she's very creative and she's very passionate about what she does. And I'm a very creative person, and I always saying I'm passionate. I always try to find a stronger word. I always say I think I'm just really obsessed with it. I love telling stories, and And so I think in that aspect, I think we're quite similar, that we're both very, very driven by passion and excitement of just being creative. So I think in that way I relate to her. But the cool thing is I also find there's a lot of things I don't relate to, which is part of why as an actor I find it really fun to go, cool, how can I bring that to life? And again, in that time, that's a whole other part of the work, is going, what did life look like? What would life have looked for her traveling back then? How does she dinner parties? Anything? What does it look like? And how is it different than today? And how can I make sure I'm bringing it to life in a way that works for the world that it's in.
In the dramatic arts, there do not seem to be a lot of female protagonists that aren't projected as quite strong. Is there something about Hannah, her character, the idea of who you're portraying, that you think young women can take something away from these days?
I think Hannah is a really, I really have loved learning more about who she is and discovering who the character is. She's very strong-willed in the way of, she's got this ranch, and I don't want to give any storylines away, so I can't dive into that too much, but she has some big decisions to make in her personal life and in what matters to her. And, she comes into Brookfield and she kind of shakes things up, which is really exciting, because she comes in from St. Louis in this whole other universe of her own, and she dives into Brookfield, and all of a sudden, without giving too much away, there's all these circumstances that come up, and she sticks by what she believes and what matters to her and what she loves. At the end of the day, I am excited to bring this character to life and to tell important stories, and for women and powerful female leads, I think is so important and vital, because women are powerful.
Yeah, excellent. You've got another character, another project that's coming out called Someone Like You. Just give us a preview, a teaser of that.
Yes, I filmed Someone Like You a couple of years ago in Nashville, which was amazing and so wonderful. I was able to dive into two really wonderful, dynamic, interesting characters, one of which was Andy Allen. The other one, is London Quinn. Which again was a big draw for me to take on that project, is I got to bring these two wonderful characters to life that are so different and unique and interesting. And it's a really beautiful love story. And it was really a very magical set to be on. Being in Nashville too just felt like a character in and of itself. That was really exciting. And we're very excited to continue to share the story. And
if you feel that way about Nashville, we got to get you to New York.
Yes.
Because
yes, I've been to New York. Love New York.
But no, we got to get you filming here, because you talk about the ultimate extra character in all movies and stories that it appears in. It certainly does. Yeah. I'm Sarah Fisher. Honored to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next.